I am no longer going to talk about President Joe Obama as the Biden administration. It is now officially the Harris administration.
Now, when President Harris and I took a virtual tour of a vaccination center in Arizona.
What did you say?
President Harris.
That's what I thought you said.
These so-called gaffes of Joe Biden are more like Freudian slips. I think even he is well aware, whether it's the 25th Amendment or he's going to be allowed, like an old mafia boss, to just simply resign, step down, and fade off into the background. It's one of the reasons he is ramming so many things through now. He is setting the stage to step aside for Kamala thinks she's a hottie Harris. Now, first of all, how this ever came to be when you stop and think about she could garner absolutely zero support when she was running to be the President of the United States for the Democratic nomination. Did she ever poll above 2 or 3? And she was the first Democratic candidate to bow out, which makes you wonder if even back then, when we were all caught up in would it be Bernie Sanders pulling an upset? Would it be Pete Buttigieg? And after the Iowa showings, it looked like that very well could have been an issue. And a lot of us, myself included, a year out from the election, we had Joe Biden dead in the water. I mean, just absolutely. His campaign was on life support. He couldn't fill a junior high school cafeteria, which I don't know why he was campaigning in junior high schools when there weren't many people there, and half the crowd that was there was in, junior high, or old farmers who he wanted to challenge to a push-up contest to prove that he was fit to be president. What saved Joe Biden's campaign was the pandemic, because he could basically stay in his bunker. They could keep him away from the press, which they're still doing, by the way. And the press is noticing. And now finally, even outlets like CNN and PMSNBC, they've been carrying his water. They want to talk to him. They want some access. They're probably making all kinds of promises. We'll write out the questions. We will softball him. He can wear an earpiece, but he's got to get out there. And he's dissing them. He's not being transparent. Why, even Jake the Tapper was upset the other night that Team Biden is not allowing anyone in from the press to film what's going on at the border. They finally had to release some photos after it was learned that Project Veritas had some photos and video footage from inside. They knew it was going to be bad, and they tried to get out ahead of it. But overall, you have to wonder if back in the day, Team Biden, when the Democratic establishment finally decided, yep, Joe's going to be the guy. He's a puppet. We can control him. He'll do what we want. He'll say what we need him to say. So, that said, did they talk to Harris then, asking her, step out, we'll put you in the shotgun, you'll be number 2, and eventually we'll make you number 1. Well, why didn't they ask somebody? Well, they weren't going to go with pale and stale Elizabeth Warren. I'm sorry, Pocahontas. She's not pale. She's just a really light-skinned Native American brother. He made it clear he wanted a female. They weren't going to use Tulsi Gabbard. She's too independent. She actually can think. So and they weren't going to go with, what was that woman's at Klobuchar? Honestly, she reminded me of every high school, junior high school librarian or social studies teacher I ever had. So it was Kamala thinks she's a hottie Harris. On the one hand, they think that as far as the visual goes, she would be appealing. She's a woman of color. And then they let her open her mouth and they find out that, she's really not a strong brain trust. In Jacksonville, she was asked, Are you going to visit the border?
Do you plan to visit the border?
Not today.
Is she completely tone deaf to the situation? To laugh and say, well, I've been there before, but I'm not going today. You are aware that the videos are out, the pictures are out. We have kids in cages. Where's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, otherwise known as AOC? Why is she not being photographed in front of a chain link fence, in front of an empty parking lot, pretending like she's at the border, caring about how people are being mistreated? Oh, I can't do that because this is a Democrat now. But quietly, you have even Democrats on Capitol Hill whispering to one another, this is even way worse than what we alleged Donald Trump was doing. You think? You think? Remember, it was AOC who said, they're making them drink out of toilets. And finally, it was a border agent who had to go on the cable news outlets and before the media and show that in these detention centers, they have a single unit. It's made out of stainless steel. There's a toilet at one end, and on the other side, there is a sink. It is a single unit. They weren't drinking out of the toilet. The sink is on the other side in a self-contained unit. I am sure that those were purchased long before the Trump years. That would be under a Democratic administration, maybe like Barackmas Obamamus. And I am sure that it was built to government specifications by the lowest bidder. And then to make it sound like Donald Trump was making people at the border drink out of a toilet. And let me just say this, and this is going to sound mean and insensitive, and some of you are going to give birth to triplets. For some people, coming from what they're coming from, even that would be far more sanitary and clean than anything they had ever had to drink in their lives. Now, that's a sad reality. So, when she finally regroups, and you have to know that when she did that laugh, that there were Democratic pundits, Democratic operatives, whose heads exploded. Because this was a Hillary Rotham Clinton, what difference at this point does it make moment? She was tone deaf to the fact that you got kids wrapped up literally in foil looking like burritos in a warmer. The pictures are out. These people are hacking, coughing, breathing on each other. And the excuse that I was going to say the Biden administration, but remember now it's the Harris administration, gave to the media why they couldn't allow them border access. Quote, we don't want reporters bringing and exposing these people to coronavirus. Wait, what? These people who have just, come through jungles and treks over thousands of miles, not masked, no sanitary conditions whatsoever, and you're worried about reporters giving them coronavirus? Give me a break. Again, it just shows you the whole fallacy and canard of the entire so-called plandemic that we're shoved into the middle of. Here's a side note, nothing to do with this particular commentary, but it popped into my head. If this virus was as deadly as Fauci Stein would have us all to believe, why do we have any homeless people left? I mean, people who live on the streets, literally eat out of dumpsters and garbage pails. They're not exactly practicing anything, what's the word I'm searching for here? Sanitary. They're not masking. They're not using hand sanitizer. Heck, they don't even bathe. And have we heard anything about mass deaths in homeless camps and populations around the country? I'll answer that for you. No. So all these people pouring into the border, we don't know where they've been, where they come from. And yet Dr. Fauci and the gang feels that they pose no real imminent health risk to us. Which says one of two things. Either A, the politics of having these illegals here are more important to them than the American people's health, or it just proves that Fauci and the rest of the gang have lied. Did I really just say that? I'll say it again. They've lied this entire time. So when Harris finally regrouped, because again now they got to groom her to officially take that chair, and they can't have her out there laughing like a babbling bonehead and not getting the grave seriousness of the issue, she gets right onto the talking point of it's Trump's fault.
We were left with a very challenging situation. And
how, pray tell, is this Donald Trump's fault? Let me tell you what they're saying, because the Director of Homeland Security and Immigration and all these new Biden appointees, they're all on script saying the same thing, that Donald Trump left us with a mess. Donald Trump left us with a mess. Now here was the mess. He stopped illegal immigration at the border. Stopped it cold. So what they're saying now is there's this big surge on the border. Why? This is the sick, twisted logic of these people. If Donald Trump had just continued to allow illegal immigration to happen under his presidency, like Obama did, and Bush, and Clinton, and Bush before him, we wouldn't have had this backup. There's just this overrun because it's kind of like, a store being closed during a pandemic, and then all of a sudden it's open and it gets overrun with more customers than it can handle. That's how the Harris administration is telling us it's Trump's fault that we have this problem at the border. In other words, if the duly elected president had just ignored the law, not enforced the law, and not enforced legal immigration, right now we wouldn't be overwhelmed. It would just be the regular 5,000 a day that we used to process under every other administration. Do you hear the sick twistedness of this logic? And this is the person the DNC establishment has decided is going to be the Presidente.
President Harris.
You know who's not happy about any of this? Her. She was supposed to be the first female president. After all, she's had the training, she's got the poise. She would have, and I'll give her this, she would have handled that question at the Jacksonville airport much differently than Kamala. She would have faked sincerity. She would have faked caring. She would have faked concern. But at least she learned from Billy Boy how to fake it for the cameras. Harris, on the other hand, like a dillweed, what's not funny is this is our future. This is our leadership. Because the powers that be, the ruling oligarch establishment, has decided they want her. And again, it's not because she's so savvy. It's not because she's articulate or well-liked. She's none of those things. What she is another stooge. She'll do what she's told. She'll read from the script. Period. It's how she's gotten ahead her whole life. She hasn't achieved anything by merit. She's achieved it through special favors. And in turn, special favors and doors were opened for her. She is what she is. And as far as the so-called current occupant of the Oval Office, the selected president, Joe Biden, we're watching a man who's diminished intellectually, who is diminished in his health, in his physical prowess. And as we watch this deterioration happen before our very eyes, and no one seems to want to acknowledge the obvious, there is a Catholic priest who finally called out one of his own, the president of the United States.
And on top of that, we've just recently elected a Catholic president, and he is Catholic, he's baptized, he is a member of the family. We've just elected a Catholic president who is diametrically opposed to all of the basic moral principles that are proclaimed by the Roman Catholic Church. Not only abortion and the sanctity of human life, but the sanctity of marriage and this gender silliness. How in the world did that happen? A Catholic. I'll tell you, if he wasn't Catholic, I probably wouldn't be so upset. He's a member of my family. He's the most powerful man in the world. And he is absolutely opposed to the basic understandings that God is the author of life. He's a Catholic. He's a member of the family. If for some reason he would be in Buckeye on a Sunday, Joe Biden is welcome to come to Mass here. His ideas are not welcome here. And if you ask me a follow-up question, would you give him communion? No. Over my dead body. Not until he repents. He's a public figure. He needs to publicly repent. And we need to pray for his conversion.
Boom. Hey, that's it for this rant. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you're a subscriber to the channel. They keep purging, but the more you subscribe, the more they get upset. Let's get those numbers up, and I thank you for your help and your support. Check us out on our other social media platforms. Remember, smack the bell, click the word all to get notification of my next rant.